Previously on Down the Rabbit Hole podcast with Omar and Gwen.
Do you want to see the bottom of the deck card?
Sure. Yeah, let's see what it is.
King of Coins. The King of Pentacles.
Queen of Pentacles.
What?
Are you thinking what I'm thinking? So say, hypothetically speaking, because these Scott people got sense of humor now. So maybe they are trying to get us to figure out what our past lives with each other were like. And maybe this was one of them. I thought this was kind of cool for us to do and do that together, because that's kind of like what's been the reoccurring theme of certain things that's been coming up. And like I said, it was kind of like going through the past lives, what it is that we're trying to figure out, maybe on this soul contract of what we're trying to master, or what ancestral trauma that it could be, or what they're trying to show us what we need to complete. And I kind of feel like, again, if you want to put your take on the things of what's going on right now, astrologically, but everybody's feeling like this type of energy, especially a lot of us that are really diving into our practice, really being more in tune with spirit or anything like that. But in order for me to grow as a human being, I'm gonna have to feel the pain and go through the fear and feel the feelings that don't feel so awesome, because that is my role of being in something and learning how to not give in to the temptation, like say said devil card, but how do I break the chains? Because that's like the big thing that everyone says. It's like, you have the power to break the chains. You can stop like all the trauma, like it can end with you. And really, like, from whatever past teachings that we do have or whatever, we can stop that from happening and moving forward. And so with this past life in particular, and in relation to this current life, I know that my value has to come within me. I know it sounds like it's very much common sense, but I'm very appreciative for the fact that I am loving me, because there are people who, and I'm still learning who I am, don't get me wrong, but I am a little more sure of the person who I am today than I was years ago. And I don't need validation from other people or to feel complete with having the certain friends in my life or the certain partner in my life, having the sense of approval from family, those kinds of things, knowing that I'm living my best life and knowing what is best for me, that is healthy, setting up boundaries and just being like, I'm not carrying this with me because it's not mine. No, I'm not doing this anymore. That kind of thing. So, yeah.
I think if there's one thing that like I feel towards you is that you harness a lot of emotional strength, and sometimes I feel like you think that you have to jump, but in reality, just sit there. Just sit there. Everything is great. You're fine. But also, remember, the queen sits on her throne from afar watching it all happen. And I keep telling you the same thing over and over again, which is victory is sweet even deep in the cheap seats. And even if you're far away, hands on your lap, watch it, because you know that in the end, you're the one that everyone's trying to charge at. You don't have to go off and like do all these things. But in reality, if you, again, justice will be served. Justice will be served. And whatever sort of situation that you're in, it's just, I think that since considering that you're a Capricorn rising and you're also a Capricorn, you want to do the things. Let me do it. And it's like, but sometimes you actually don't have to. Sometimes.
No.
No, sometimes things are just kind of like, I mean, again, I feel like we all fret over certain things, but I think, again, using the eye of discernment to understand, is this something that I should worry about? Will it work itself out, in the end? Yes. But it's completely normal to be human and to have these worries.
Yes. 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 And you're right. It's like I have to kind of like get in that flight or fight mode. And it is very much so like learning to be, I'm going to use Omar's favorite word, patient.
Stop. Stop. Girl, don't use that word with me. Mm-mm.
I hate it. I hate it too. I hate it too. But yeah, a lot of good things do come when I am patient. And I have to say it has been the hardest thing to learn. And when I think it's like, oh, that didn't feel so bad, just having to sit and wait. And I'm like, I got this. You might as well put that on my tombstone when I die. I got this. My last word.
Well, I mean, again, tying it back to your past life, I mean, you could have gotten the man that you were seeking, but you wanted to take matters into your own hands and be like, no, I got this. I'm going to do what I need to do so that girl, you could have gotten the man.
I could have. I really could have. Well, I got him now, so.
Mm-hmm. But in that lifetime, I feel like it was perhaps hard for you because, again, like coming from such a high position of power and respect, and for you to deviate from something that you don't normally do caused you to break your own heart. And also, again, you knew what you were getting yourself into. You knew that I think the action that took place that worked against your favor was that you went forth and took matters into your own hands and was like, you know what, I'm going to do what I need to do. And it backfired. You're like, well, if you just sat down.
Park your keister, ma'am. Park your keister. Yeah. No, I like it when Omar reads cards for me too, because it's like, it's very refreshing, because there's times where it's like, I need to talk out. Like, I hardly ever read cards for myself anymore, because one, I might not be able to read it for myself, or there's too much stuff flying around up in here that it's kind of like, it might be this, it could be that. I don't know. Now I'm freaking out. This is going to happen. Like, and then as soon as things start to happen, I'm like, I wish I didn't know it happened, But it's always kind of nice to have like the second doctor's opinion. You know what I mean? Like, because it's kind of like you put it into perspective. We learn the cards so differently of what they mean, where we read it out of different references from the books. Because I think also even with the other questions, when somebody's trying to pick a deck for the first time, like trying to remember the memorizations, like I sometimes just get drawn by the cards of what they look like and what they mean to me. And it really hits home for that person. And it might not be what the traditional reading would be from the Rider-Waite deck. And it's more fitting for them at the time. from when I have pulled that card for myself or another person. But it's always nice to get the insight from somebody else on being so intuitive of being like, this is what I see. And you know how you were saying like with your reading too of like the being in control kind of thing because it's like you panic. I kind of tie that into you also like with having fun. Like, you know, it's like you can definitely have fun. You can. There's no questions asked about that, and you can. But when you get so serious, you're kind of like me as the Capricorn, and it's like, I didn't want to do this in the first place. I told you they shouldn't have told this person to come to the party, and look what happened. They ruined it for everybody. They should have listened to me in the first place. Why didn't y'all? but again, it kind of goes like with me and the temperance of like I wasn't going with the flow, you know. It's just kind of like I made myself think like, oh, as soon as I saw this bitch walk in the door, I'm like, I am not having a good time. I'm gonna be the one to check out first. And it's like, but look, you have all these other people here. It's like you can just ignore them.
You have all these other people here.
All these other people here, pay attention to them. You don't need them. Just go over this way. Go have fun. Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, and yeah, and it's hard because real life gets in the way, man. It stinks. I'm just kidding.
No, it does, but I think that like, I mean, if that's not a lesson for all of us, you know, like again, all of us, not only like myself included, but you and everyone else that's listening, sometimes want to push our luck into fitting a round peg in a square hole, and you're like, it has to happen this way. I need this. But I think that even within manifestation or anything else, like what's for you will never miss you. And even if you don't get what you want, how are you going to react to when you don't get what you want? Are you going to be a sore loser, or are you going to have a sense of integrity and be a class act and move forward? Because in the end, it all works itself out anyway. And the thing that you thought you wanted was probably something that you weren't going to be happy with anyways.
Exactly. Yep. And it's kind of like human nature of like things that we come to believe of like, well, if I work twice as hard, I can get this thing. And then when I get it, then it's like, well, it's not everything that it was all cracked up to be. Kind of like, it makes me think of like the Cracker Jack boxes when we were kids, and they'd have the little prizes on the inside. So it might have been like a baseball card or like a little toy or something. And so as time went on, they changed what they put in the Cracker Jack box. So I was getting so excited for the other things, right? So when I finally got it, I'm like, oh, cool, I got another Cracker Jack box and I'm going to get this toy in it. Like, it's going to be so cool. As soon as I get it, I'm like, WTF is this? When I'm going to sit there and I know that Cracker Jack box is really good. Okay. But I'm still being pissy about the toy. Excuse my language. But like, you know?
No, yeah. And you don't even get to enjoy the box of treats.
I know. I like how you liked that reference.
Well, I mean, girl, I think we've all been down a rabbit hole of thinking that something was going to fulfill us, but in reality, it was just a novelty for the moment. And even if you wanted it and got it for that moment, you're like, this isn't fun. I thought it was going to be fun. And it's like, well, what else do you do? What now?
I know.
Like, what else do we do now that we got what we wanted? And sometimes when you get what you want, you're not even satisfied anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, I think it kind of goes to like with the way that things are today and how we are as people and always wanting to seek the next best thing, comparison with other people, thinking that this is what's going to make us happy. And then it's really not, and so we're just kind of at the constant struggle of like, you know, of internal warfare is what I like to call it. Because I think for me personally, it is. I can always take responsibility for myself. Of it's like, I'm not in competition with other people. I'm always going to be in competition with myself. And quite honestly, like, I don't know if this person is happy with everything that they have. Like, the whole term of the grass is greener on the other side. But it's like how things are so glorified, I don't know if is the appropriate term, of like how things should be from when we've gotten older. Like, putting ourselves in these boxes. It's like, well, you don't have kids, aren't you running out of time? Or getting married, like, isn't that sad? Like, no, it's not sad for me, but now that I'm thinking about it, it's like, okay, now I'm starting to feel very insecure. Like, should I have thought about something like that?
Mhm.
But like, it's like certain things, even with like how Omar and I were talking about, like, how we were growing up and how we display feelings. Should we share our emotions in public? Is it okay for boys to cry? Or otherwise they'd be, you know, um, deemed as like too soft, or something else. And that's not the case. And yeah, and it's kind of like if you look at it, it's based on prior teachings, and it can go back into how we were talking about like our inner child kind of thing, but very much so I like breaking these patterns little by little, and I think I do get impatient when it's kind of like, okay, what's next? Let's go, spirit. Let's do this. Like, I guess it's kind of the thing of like, I want to see what else is on the other side of the spirit realm, that I'm just like, I don't know if I want to come back. But I'm pretty sure I'd want to go back because I'm stubborn.
Mhm.
Pretty sure I'm going to come
I
back
mean,
again.
so sometimes I feel like we anticipate what's coming next and we want it so bad. But then
Mhm.
when it happens, it's like, well, this isn't what I wanted though. And I was so like, I was anticipating so much and I got so excited. And then when it actually happened, you're just like, what? This is what I was looking forward to this whole time. Like, okay, well, I mean, think of it this way. Um, the way that I perceive patience, even within this current time, 2021, everyone last year was very like, I can't wait for um it to be next year, and next year's gonna be better. And even looking at the current astrological forecast, I'm like, I don't think it's gonna be better. It's gonna be different, but just because it's different doesn't necessarily mean it's good or bad. It's
Mhm.
just different.
Mhm.
And uh, I mean, the way I perceive, like, I guess, impatience when it comes to, you can even tie this into traffic, like you can be so like, I'm going to be late to work, there's traffic, I got things to do, but you don't know what could have happened. There was an accident that you could have been in that accident, but you were trying to push your luck to get there so fast that, like, I mean, again, that was protection.
Yes, yes. And it's kind of like one of those things. It's like if you're asking on guidance for spirit of like what's the best thing to do, it's like we have free will and we can do the things and then we can find out what's going to happen. My understanding of it is from what I've meditated with and what I've learned from, it's like if I do keep pushing it, there will be more roadblocks, is what I've come to believe. Um, and from what I have experienced. it's not that I'm not going to see the end game, but it's kind of up to me. Like if I do want to be patient and wait to see if they are going to help me go on the right path with putting like certain opportunities in the way to get me closer and where I need to go versus kind of like, Google being like rerouting, like that kind of thing.
And it gets annoying, but in the end, like,
Yeah.
You're still gonna get there anyway, so you might as well enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Go ahead, honey. I'm sorry.
I mean, again, like even with my own readings, like when folks have asked me about like, am I gonna find love this year, or like, is something gonna happen with this person, or like, I want this person's attention so bad and they're not giving it to me. The things that I do when I want something so bad, or I'm like excited, because when I get excited, I'm like, oh my god, that's all I could think about. But when I want something so bad and it's always on my mind and I can't seem to ground myself, I just do something creative. I do something fun, because at least it takes your mind off of it. I mean, if you're stuck in traffic, put on some music, decorate time a little bit. You might find, the radio might be playing your favorite song after cool song after whatever. But if you keep worrying about like, I mean, if you're going to be late to work, you're going to be late to work anyways. Why are you going to keep on, passing through red light after red light after red light? You might just get a ticket because you weren't careful. Yeah. And if you're going to be late anyways, well, then take your time, because you can get there on time, or you can lose your life in like literally 5 minutes.
Yes.
It's really how you want to take it. You could be careful and really just relax, and you'll get there when you get there.
Yeah.
I tell myself, when I really want something so bad, if I'm like panicking over a decision, how I feel now in panic is not going to help me make that decision. But when I cross that bridge, I'll know. Because when I get to that bridge, what if I change my mind? But I'm like, actually, now that I've given myself time to ease myself into grounding, I'm not going to take option A. I'll actually take option B.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, we're making decisions in a state of fear or grief or panic, or not trusting that, like, let's take this further into like, employment opportunities. Like, oh, but I really wanted that job, or like that would have fixed all my problems. But like, it might have, but you weren't going to be happy.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't. What if your boss was, or the employer, your coworkers were really nasty, and you wanted that job so bad, and now where are you?
Yeah.
And I think that we as humans get so impatient to what is already for us, or what will happen, that we want to know what happens at the end. Like, we know what's going to happen at the end of the story. We know. We don't know, but we kind of have an idea of what's going to happen. It's like if you're going to go to like Disney World, like, yes, it's going to be a long ride getting there, and the destination is Disney World, but like, what are we doing in the meantime to preoccupy ourselves so that we can like wait?
Yeah.
Because if you're going to be, constantly checking the time every 5 seconds, it's like the clock hasn't moved. I'm losing my shit right now. And like, they're playing the song that I don't like, and the song feels like it's taking 10 minutes, and it's like, oh my God. But you're not going to have fun. And by the time you get there, you're so exasperated that you're not going to really be able to see and enjoy everything around you anyways.
Yeah. And, and that's the other thing too, kind of like going into past lives, right? So when you were talking, I was sitting there thinking of, just like, oh my gosh, I'm losing the time trying to get to where I'm going. Anything that really kind of like makes us tick today. For the longest time, I had always like worried about like as far as finances, right? Everybody does. and last year didn't make it any better, right? So, but what had always stuck with me, before I had came out, before I had went down Path of the Witch, picked up tarot cards like years later again. I had worked at a coffee shop, and there was somebody who was doing past life readings. One of them, I was told I was one kind of like a servant of the house, like in India. And the other, but when you're a servant in the house of India from back in that time, it was very much of very well respect. It was kind of like the go-to person that was kind of like making things run of the other people, workers in the house, and people would go to them for counsel. So then the other one, but again, I am part indigenous Indian from my mom's. And so there is that Indian culture as well there. So it was always the feeling of the lack thereof, of I didn't have something to call my own, um, being moved from my shelter, moved from the land, not having a place to call my own. And so at some point in this lifetime, I still work with that too. It's kind of like that struggle of the lack thereof. And you and I have talked about this, like with money being like the lowest frequency kind of thing, like the things that we're willing to do to receive. Um, and there has to be like some sort of moral and ethics going with this, because I want to sleep at the end of the night myself, really. But but again, I have to be honest with myself. So so those were kind of like one of the things I'm still like learning with, and the anxiety isn't as bad now, to where it's like, I know you wanted something to call your own. Yes, you can work on it, but if you don't force it, great things do happen. It still does come. You know what I mean? So I like how this all kind of like ties into like certain things, and like how we go into those certain behaviors. And when we kind of stop and think about it for a minute, it's like, why am I working so damn hard? Am I even having fun doing this? No. I learn about myself a little bit more, to where I don't have the kind of like the, not like imposter syndrome, but it's kind of like I don't know who I am, that kind of thing, you know? And the time, like you said, I can just sit here in the car and listen to my music on the way instead of freaking out over this traffic. I don't like being an angry person, so I'm going to try to find out what really makes me chill out. I haven't heard this radio station before. I haven't listened to this CD in a very long time. And quite honestly, I'm kind of glad I put that CD back in, or whatever you're using now today, or like having the Bluetooth set up on the phone. I know, I'm so old.
No, I still have CD in my car.
Awesome. I was like, wait, are we past that time? But sometimes I have to get it connected, like my phone connected, because I have Spotify and I can, put it for the Ford Focus. But yeah, it's just like, but anyway. Um, but yeah, I still learn about the things that I like me, where it's like, ooh, I listened to that music a long time ago, but it's like never again. Or I can listen to it and be like, I still like this. This still reminds me of something that was really happy, and this really puts me in this type of mood, and then it kind of helps with these vibrations of certain things. I don't know. But anyway. So do you have anything else to add, my love, for this podcast?
If there's one thing that I would like to add, I guess even with this, currently in the sky, I feel like with Mars and Cancer is making us be a lot more passive. And I think that if we don't like something, then we should be quiet and not say anything nice. I mean, some people, understand that virtue of, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say it at all. But at the same time, holding on to that still carries its own weight. But if you don't have anything nice to say, don't whisper it. Say with your whole chest.
Mm-hmm.
But just because we have a disagreement, it does not necessarily mean or equate to disrespect. Because I think that this one thing that we as humans do is that we get emotionally riled up and we tear someone down, we put someone down because I don't like the way that that felt, or why are you acting this way? And instead of listening to what we're saying on an emotional level, perhaps instead of having to like be right, because you could be right, or you just want to win a conversation or win a certain battle, and it's not going to end well for you, because in the end, like, whoever wins still loses, because they
Mhm.
were trying to push and be like, nah, ha ha ha, look at you now, I won. But we often forget the other side.
Yeah.
Well, how are you feeling about this? um i have um I have a brother that we don't necessarily always have seen eye to eye, but I know that there can be a level of respect sometimes when we have disagreements, whether they be political or just something so casual upon an opinion of something so silly. Um I don't have to automatically, come with a sword and ready to fight. Again, I can seem a little blasé about something, but that doesn't necessarily mean that like I those are fighting words. I'm like, I just generally don't care. But I think that sometimes the other side can think, oh, you don't care? Well, I'm gonna put you down so that you can care more because of my opinion and what I have to say. And it's like, how did we get here again? We don't need to, pull out the sword and start fighting. We can communicate, and just because we don't find an agreement, it does not necessarily mean we should disrespect each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what if within the disagreement, after the conversation was had, what if we change our mind after we digest hours later what the other side was talking about? Like, these in these times, it's fairly easy to be a centrist in a lot of things, and it's very easy to pick a side, but again, we're not actively listening to each other, we're just disrespecting each other. And not saying that we should all have the same opinion and all come in unison, but again, even politically speaking, there's a smear campaign. Well, they're this, they're stupid, or they think this is that. In reality, we'll find out. We'll find out what the result will be. We'll find out who wins the presidency, or we'll find out who, I don't know, wins the Grammy Award for Best New Artist. Like, who cares? And the very end of the day, like, have we forgotten that like love really is the answer? And just because we don't agree, it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm gonna like take away the food off your table. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do that. I might have my own reservations, but I'll just have to wait and see, I guess. And sometimes we don't want to wait and see, we just want to fight. But where is this energy of wanting to be aggressive coming from? Is it coming from a place of not being heard? Is it coming from a place of being misunderstood? Or is it coming from a place of really inner healing?
Mhm. Mhm.
Before I come at someone or am, I can be a little nasty, but I'm not necessarily nasty in the most conventional way. I'm a lot more just, um, oh, what? I'm just very blasé about it. I really don't. You don't bother me. But I know that if I act that way, it infuriates people more, because it's like, well, I want you to feel angry like me. And I'm like, you can try your hardest, but I mean, again, like, don't push me, because I could be the bigger bitch here. Don't push your luck, honey, because I could really deliver some words that might hurt. And at the same time, I'm going to feel bad because I got myself into a place where I was angry. And in reality, you're teaching me how to better handle and temper my own anger.
Yeah.
Because again, like if if I can temper my own anger and redirect it and stay calm, and I think that like there's nothing funnier than people getting upset, because I think it's funny when someone's really infuriated. I'm not laughing at them, but in my head, I'm just like giggling away. Like, oh, you're upset? Oh, okay. Sure. Okay, cool. Cool. Uh-huh. Oh, you're not gonna shake me, honey. You're not gonna do it.
Yeah.
But am I also allowing myself to make space to hear these hurts?
Yeah. 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 I guess that's,
Because at the end of the day,
yeah.
there's a human bed at the very end of the spectrum, at the very opposite end of the table. There's still a human here. So what are we hearing? And if we're coming from a place of higher consciousness, we can't get so angry at them, because we know that, oh, I know why you're hurting.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I know why you're hurting. But again, with Mars and Cancer, making a lot of people really angry. And I'm like, I have that natally, but I think I've sort of mastered the understanding of what it means to have Mars and Cancer. It's just, I don't always communicate directly. I'm very indirect sometimes when I'm angry. I'm very much, I think you can understand too. You have Mars in like a water sign as well. In Scorpio, you're like, I will end you.
Well, and I was just
What'd you say to
thinking about
me?
this,
Excuse me?
and with Mars where it is, and then so Pluto went into retrograde in
Mm-hmm.
Capricorn, and I'm like, is this why I just want to
Yeah.
keep just like, you know, like just want to ram into things with my little tiny horns, you know?
I think so. I mean, I think that with Pluto going retrograde, Pluto's the planet of like destruction, regeneration, rebirth. So now that we've done, since it was direct, now we're like, oh, look at the mess we made, or look at the things that we thought needed to like be chopped off, and we're like, oh, but why did I do that? But why do I feel like I need to die? Or like, why do I feel like these things in my life need to die? So now it's all teaching us to go with internally and think, okay, um, did we make the right choices when we decided to set everything ablaze?
Mm-hmm.
Or do we need more information to internalize so that we can move forward to actually sever heads?
Yeah. Yeah.
And we're about to enter eclipse season, which is going to be spicy because it's in Gemini. And I'm scared because I'm a Gemini sun, you're a Gemini moon. And we're like, I don't know if I'm going to be annoying, or am I just going to see both sides and be problematic? Maybe I should just be wise, because again, like Mercury, Gemini it's a trickster. We like to play, but sometimes we don't know if we went too far. Yikes.
Kind of feel like we're going to see more of the sunny side from you and then the shadow of mine.
Mm-hmm.
More black and white. Wait, this way or this way?
But at least we have each other, to
Yes.
keep each other in line. And I don't think there's anyone else that I have in my life that can see the duality within me and really redirect my attention. Like, hey, listen, like my twin over there told me that you needed to play. And my twin wants to tell you that perhaps you need to like not play anymore. Stop playing. It's like, oh yes, that's right. Okay, well, maybe I'll do that.
I think I have some extra Capricorn to spare. Would you? Let me just scoop it up for you. Just
Here,
here.
take some heavy Capricorn earth for you. I'm like, but I wanted to keep things light.
Yeah. No, but anyways, perfect ending?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Also, to end this podcast, if you guys have any questions for us, please email us at
The email is askaliceandtherrabbit@gmail.com. Yeah, I got that
and we'll
right.
post it in the description.
Yes.
But we were thinking of if you guys could ask us questions. We want to dedicate our next episode to answering those questions in the best way that we can, so that because at the end of the day, we want you guys to also, we want to get to know you guys through your questions. And at the same time, you have any suggestions or sort of topics, or even what our personal stance are on certain subjects or matters of the heart, and so on and so forth. Me being the rabbit.
The mind.
Yes. I'm the rabbit, and let's be honest here, she's Alice. She's holding me.
Yeah, and her face has really been looking like mine for the last several days.
Stop. With that giggly face? I don't think so.
This needs water.
But anyways, I love you guys, and I love you.
I love you
Till
too.
next time.
Love you guys. Thanks so much. See you next time.